Today's episode is with Tyler Purcell. He is a private wealth advisor at Kiplinger. He has more than 10 years of experience, and he brought a really interesting topic to the podcast. He wanted to talk to us about the overlap between building your wealth and also maintaining your health. And, Tyler's qualified to talk about this because he was actually a college football player. He majored in finance as a student athlete, and after college, Tyler competed in powerlifting competitions around Ohio. He's a super interesting and humble guy. Enjoy the episode. Tyler, what inspired you to get into finance in the first place?
Yeah, so my dad is actually in this business. So when I was younger, I kind of got to see how his work was, and I've always been, a numbers person into math. I was always that was always my best subject. Um, so like numbers, he'd kind of share with me the type of stuff he does. And then the big thing was I always got to see his work-life balance. I got to see, okay, he owns his own business. He never misses a t-ball game, like. And as I got older, I realized like how important that is. And so, those things just kind of meshed for me. I'm like, I think I'd love to do what he does. So chose finance in college, loved it, got my MBA directly after that. And uh, history ever since. Love what I do. I never get the Sunday scaries. I'm always excited when one day comes around. So um, just just kind of how I got into it and where I'm at now.
That's really interesting. I mean, did you kind of learn through like observing your father, or was money also like a topic that your parents talked about with you and your siblings?
Yeah, it was. We didn't really have allowances. We had tasks and jobs, so we kind of got the idea of how you work hard for your money. I think my first real job, I was like 14. Cleaning up drywall in new construction homes and things like that. So, he always drilled into us, work hard, how money works, we would spend our own money on certain things. And, he just educated us through that process. But yeah, he, kind of got my love for the logistics of money from him for sure. Because they don't really teach you that stuff, not even really in high school. They don't teach you budgeting or investing or anything like that much. Nowadays it may be different, but I'm old, so 15 years ago it wasn't really a big thing.
Well, no, you're right. I think it still is not a big thing, and I'm sure that as your children grow up, that's something that you'll probably teach them at home too. So that's important.
Yeah, for sure. Ellie's got her piggy bank, and she's starting to understand it. It was funny. We just had her third birthday, and my grandmother gave her cash, and she had never received cash before. So that was an interesting thing trying to explain to a 3-year old how what that is. She's used to coins and things, but cash was something new. So we have some funny pictures while she was looking at the cash, like, what is this? She's opening up presents, and then she gets this. She's like, I don't want this, and I'm like, you will down the road, honey. You will down the road.
A classic gift from grandma, a little envelope of
Right,
cash.
right. Yeah,
I
it was
like that.
funny.
So, jumping back a little bit, you mentioned that you started your career with Merrill Lynch right out of college, and I'm just kind of curious about that experience because one of my close friends and one of the co-founders of Advisor Finder, Jason, he did something similar. He was in a training program with Wells Fargo right after college. So, I'm curious about your experience with Merrill
Oh man,
Lynch.
I'd love to chat with Jason about what it was like for him because I'm sure I'm sure he shared a similar experience. Um, yeah, it was tough. I mean, basically, you try to look for a mentor. I was 23, and they're telling me, hey, we got to bring in minimum accounts of $250,000, and I'm like, okay, well, can I have some help, some mentorship? What if I need to bring someone more experienced along to meetings and things? And it was tough. It's kind of in that training program, you know, at that company, it was kind of a dog eat dog world. Not a lot of help. Saw a ton of people come through the training program and leave the training program while I was there. Didn't get a lot of like I said, mentorship on the other aspects of financial planning, tax planning, estate planning, things like that. It was mostly just investments. So that was a big thing I wanted to learn, and kind of realized, man, there's got to be something better out there. There's got to be more to this. So, uh, like I mentioned, made the jump about a year and a half. But it was a good experience. Got to see that type of atmosphere and how things work there. So, you take every experience and you learn from it and you grow from it.
What do you think are kind of the biggest differences between working at such a large broker dealer as compared to an RIA?
Yeah, I think it's just the freedom, what we can do for clients. I mean, some of these big places, you're just so tied down. What you can and can't do. Some of these companies push proprietary products. Like we don't do any of that stuff. We do full financial planning here, not only your investments, but retirement planning, goals-based planning, estate planning, tax planning. It's just you kind of see, man, all these clients were not getting those things, but they need all these things, and it's amazing how many people out there don't get those areas of planning. So just trying to bring that to our current clients and new clients who join us. But I think it's important. You definitely need the full holistic planning nowadays.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of people look for more than just help with managing their investments. They also want someone to be there for them and kind of help guide them through volatile times.
Yeah, I mentioned when people ask what I do, I always mention, like, part-time therapist as well. Like, going through COVID, that, I mean, just lots of conversations, clients nervous about what's going on, where things are going to go. And, none of that is really money. It's just kind of, holding their hand through it all. So that's another part of business I like, the behavioral side of it. And, being there for clients when things like that happen, or certain life events, things like that.
Do you feel like you were prepared for that side of the career, like basically being a financial therapist? Did your degree prepare you for that?
No, no, that didn't. The finance degree does not prepare you for any of that. And honestly, the finance degree doesn't prepare you that much for financial planning.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I'm learning all these formulas for all these things I'll never use nowadays. I mean, essentially, it prepares you to be a CFA, possibly. But you know, I didn't have financial planning as a uh, major back then, or I would have done that. But I'm glad to see more things like that popping up. Obviously the CFP is the gold standard, and um, but yeah, you just you learn from the people you're around. So for new advisors getting in the business, find a good RIA. Learn from some advisors who have been through this. I think that's the future of how our industry grows and gets better.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because it seems like we're witnessing an inflection point in the industry where a lot of older advisors are retiring out of the industry and some younger advisors are stepping in to fill their shoes, but also a whole new generation of investors is entering the market. And so there's this big mismatch between what some legacy firms are offering and what younger clients are looking for.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I have a few old guards in my office. So we always go back and forth because, I serve I mean, all my clients are millennial clients, early career, high earners. And, they're dealing with, the retirees, things like that. So it's funny going back and forth on what they think works versus what I think works. And I'm like, guys, we're serving two very, very different, populations here. But it's fun to have the friendly banter in the office.
What do you feel like you've noticed like a theme of what the biggest differences are between maybe clients who are near retirement or in retirement versus clients that you work with who are millennials?
I think, like we touched on, it's more planning.
Mhm.
I feel like the norm 20 years ago, when a lot of those clients met with their advisors or became clients with their advisors, it was just investment management. Um, Now, millennials, even Gen Z. I mean, we're so good at doing research, right? We can go out on Google, find whatever we want. You need somebody to simplify those things for you. the advisors nowadays need to be able to do that for their clients because the information's out there. Hey, simplify this for me, walk me through this. I have this certain situation, I need your help. I want to be educated, but I still need help. Can you do that for me? And it's becoming more and more of, I don't know. I mean, it's always kind of been a relationship business, but I feel like even more nowadays, it's like a support. Like we're in this together, working together to get you through all these events in your life. Job changes, stock options, things like that. I feel like we really work together nowadays, which I like. I love that it's turning into that.
That's that's great to hear. And like, I hope this isn't too direct of a question, but how many clients do you work with? And do you think there's kind of like a magic number where if you have more than 100 clients or whatever that number is, it's almost too much and you lose that kind of personal touch with your clients?
Yes, me personally, or as our RIA overall.
Whatever you feel, whatever you feel comfortable answering.
Yeah. So our REA, we have a little over 300 clients, and me personally, I have about 50 clients right now. So I'm still taking on new clients. I haven't found that I've hit that point really. Um, but there's technology nowadays that makes it easier, to work with clients and update plans and get information. So I think that helps that number as well. Um, and also, I've mentioned this to somebody else. Millennial and Gen Z clients, we're used to working fast and digital. So how many clients you could have of retirees right now? I can probably have a lot more millennial or Gen Z clients, and we're spending the same amount of time on those. So just another thing to think about.
And is that almost based on like your clients are comfortable with meeting with you via Zoom like this, and that's a big time saver, or other areas where the millennial clients are kind of doing their own research and they come to you with, hey, this is what I want to invest in. Let me know what you think. What do you think the biggest like time saver is between the groups?
Yeah, I think virtual meetings are a huge one. We can knock out a good meeting in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Where sometimes in office meetings it's an hour. You're hanging out at the door saying goodbye for 20 minutes. And that's all great. I'm not knocking on that, but I just think how we've grown up and the things we're used to, we're able to work fast. Um, and then also, like just using email, like we get emails back and forth to each other quick, right? So the information is, I'm not waiting 3 days to get a reply for an email like in certain other situations I would. So just being able to receive and give that information quickly, nowadays we even have secure text messaging. So, almost every avenue is quicker being able to work with a client than it was 10 years ago. So I think that's big for firms too. And it allows us to grow and not lose that service model or that high touch that we want for our clients.
Yeah, that's really important. I think, you make a good point about just being accommodating to your clients and meeting them, where they want to be met. So my next question is, how can young people benefit from working with a financial advisor?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think everybody can benefit working with an advisor, whether you're high income, first job out of college. I think nowadays, if you find a good advisor, they're going to pass a lot of education on to you. You're going to learn a lot. That meeting I just had before this one, we were talking, and she's like, "Yeah, I want to learn. No one's ever taught me any of this stuff. I got all this stuff going on right now. I don't really know what to do, but I need you to help me. But I want to learn along the way." So I think that's a big thing for people possibly looking for a financial advisor, younger people who are just, getting their first job or maybe transitioning to their second job. There's always something that you can benefit, using an advisor for. And people, always talk about, well, having an advisor is expensive, but nowadays it's really not. I work with people for as low as $99 a month. So, in certain situations, that's all the client's paying. So that's as much as a cable bill, an internet bill. Your cell phone bill is more expensive than that nowadays. So I think the tools out there making, financial advice more accessible to everybody, and I'm excited for it. And I know there's a lot of proponents out there in our space who are trying to make that happen as well. But
Do you think there's a common misconception about financial advisors? And if so, how would you try to dispel that?
yeah, and I mean, you still see it today. Like financial advisors, I don't have enough money to work with a financial advisor. Financial advisors are too expensive, and I think that's just the mythology from how it's been for the last 40 years, right? I'm a financial advisor. I only serve the top 1%, and I wear a suit, and I have an office on the 10th floor downtown. That perception, I feel like, is still hanging around a little bit. But people are definitely changing it, myself included. Trying to give a breath of fresh air to this industry, and let clients know what's out there. And social media is a big factor in that. We're able to reach the younger demographic, our clients, and give them that education and awareness that, hey, we are out here. You don't have to use your dad's financial advisor. That find somebody who fits with your lifestyle, with your values, things like that.
Yeah, you're right. Choosing a financial advisor isn't just about whether or not they can help you, but, maybe building a more quality connection with that advisor because it's someone you're going to be working with for a long period of time. So it's important to have a deeper connection there. And I think, something that is unique about you is that you were a student athlete. You played football in college while majoring in finance. And then after college, you even competed in powerlifting competitions. So I'm curious to hear your take on like the crossover between building your wealth and also maintaining your health.
Yeah. So I kind of look at it. There's like five pillars or main things that I think are just like identical parallels to being successful and building wealth, and also, you know, building your health and going in the right direction with your health. And the first one would be is just take stock of where you're at. So you got to know where you're at before you can get to where you're going, right? So, like on the financial side, the first thing we have clients do is fill out a wealth planning worksheet. And, it's 6 pages long. We go through it with them. We're diving into everything in their financial lives. And, a lot of them mention, like, oh, it's kind of eye opening. Like, oh, I didn't know I spent this much there. Or, I didn't know I had this old 401k I just remembered. Or, oh man, that loan, I didn't know I was paying that interest rate on that. So, you got to know where you're at before you can make those changes and go forward. On the fitness side, people always ask me, how do I lose weight? Everybody wants to lose weight quick and this and that. And take stock of where you're at. I tell them, write down everything you eat during the week and how many times you work out and what type of workout you do. And that activity is eye opening for a lot of people. They either underinflate how much they're eating or drinking, or they overinflate the amount of exercise they're getting. So those two parallels I feel like are spot on. Like, take stock of where you're at, make sure what the baseline is before you get going forward. So, and then the next one would be, okay, you know where you're at. What are your goals? Where do you want to go? And, if it's, I want to have a 500-pound squat over here, okay, let's create a plan to get you to that 500-pound squat. You need to know what weights you got to hit every week. You don't just go in the gym and do random things and hope eventually you get to the 500-pound squat. Same way over here. I want to retire, be able to take $250,000 a year in income from my investments. That's my goal. Okay, let's get you a plan to get there. Then it goes into, okay, do I have the consistency and discipline to do these things? Can't just hit my goal if I'm only going to the gym once a week, right? You know, 3, 4 days a week, maybe 5 days every week, week after week, right? You see that building on itself. Same thing with investing and financial planning. You can't throw $1,000 in the market and just leave it go and hope you're going to hit 2 million, right? Build that plan. You need that consistency and that follow through. You don't have to start. I think people get a little bit overwhelmed at setting goals like that. And if you just start small, it builds on itself. We always talk about compounding. Things compound, right? More workouts you have, that compounds. More money you put in monthly, compound. So that's number 3. 4, patience. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger overnight, right? Years and years of lifting, whether your goal is running, you know, gaining muscle, losing weight, those things take time. You got to have patience. You got to stick to the plan, have patience. Same thing with investing, For someone like me, I got 25, 30 years, right? I'm playing the long game, have that patience, follow your plan, stick to it. And the last thing, accountability and support. Um, when things get tough, sometimes if everything is on your own shoulders, it's tough to get through those. We always need somebody to lean on. Fitness over here, personal trainer, group of friends who work out together, things like that. You're going to have bad workouts, right? You're not going to hit your numbers. You're not going to hit your time running some days, but you got to be able to bounce back. Having that support to tell you, hey, no big deal. Let's get after it tomorrow. Forget this workout. Same thing on this side, like myself, you could hire a financial advisor. They're there to be your support and help you with accountability. Hey, here's your plan. Are we doing this? Let's review. Let's see how you're doing so far. Let's see your progress. And I think it's just amazing how much those things mesh together. And I'm passionate about both things. So, I help whoever I come across with both. But that's my five pillars to the fitness and finance mesh.
I love it, and I mean it makes perfect sense. I just want to like summarize it just so I make sure I understand. So it's first,
Yeah,
kind of take stock of where you are.
yeah.
Second,
Goals and
setting
planning.
your goals. Then it's
Yeah,
consistency
yeah. Then it's consistency, discipline,
and patience. And lastly,
patience.
it's accountability and support.
Yep, that's it.
Wow, that's a really powerful analogy. When did you come up with this framework?
I don't. It's probably in the last year, honestly. I've always thought, at some point I wanted to open up a gym and have my own gym, but it's a terrible business to run. So, you know, I just think of other things fitness wise. And, I come across a lot of my clients are into fitness, obviously. So I talk with them a lot about things. A lot of friends and family always ask me about those things. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to have some sort of framework to be able to tell them, hey, you know, this is where you start, and this is, kind of the framework. If you work around it, I think you can be successful. So just kind of, I don't know, came to me out of the blue, I guess. Probably wrote it down in my iPhone notes or something.
So I know you played football in college, but how did you get into powerlifting?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I got this from my dad again. He was a bodybuilder back in like the 80s. So, he had me working out when I was young. I was probably like 7 or 8 when I started working out. Obviously, light stuff, but teaching me correct form and things like that. Um, so yeah, he kind of led me down that journey. And working out for me has always been a therapy session. It's such a nice stress relief. My wife always can tell when I haven't worked out that day because she's like, "You're a little on edge. Like you haven't worked out today, have you?" I'm like, no, not yet." So it's that therapy session for me, the stress reliever, um, and it just so happens, it helps you live a healthier life. So has lots of benefits for me, and I enjoy it. I love it. I love training with myself and helping others.
But outside of the gym, what are some of your hobbies?
My other hobbies would be my 3-year-old and my 9-month-old now. Probably my favorite hobby. So, love spending time with them, coming home from work. And, we like to be outside. So, going to the park. We have a golden doodle as well. So, putting the crew, getting the wagon out, taking walks. And then, me and my wife like to travel. Obviously, we did a lot more before, our kids were here, but we still get out and about a bit. We're going to a kidless trip to St. Martin in a couple weeks, so looking forward to that one.
I bet that's
But
nice.
yeah, yeah. So spend a lot of time with family. Family's big to me. My sister, she lives a minute from me, so we spend a lot of time with them. They have a 2.5-year-old and a 1-year-old, so very similar to my kids. They like hanging out with each other. So yeah,
That's awesome. That's important to be close to family like that.
yeah. It is. It is. We love it.
Hmm. So, I mean, I'm kind of curious. You mentioned travel. Is there a place that you've traveled that you think everyone should visit that's at the top of your list if you recommend, what's a must-visit place?
I'd have to say, I think St. Martin's pretty cool. If you haven't been there, split half Dutch, half French, and it only takes about 30 minutes to get to the other side of the island. So, you can go over to the French side, get the French cuisine, some French culture over there, which is pretty cool. And it has like four of the top 10 beaches in the world or something. So that's also, if you're a beach goer, that's another great thing. There's good hiking there because it's mountainous. Um, yeah, we love it there, and it's not crazy expensive either. I think it's a very good value. Short flight from Miami, it's not a 10-hour, 15-hour flight to Hawaii or whatever. So, yeah, check out St. Martin if you've never been. That's my travel sponsor right there.
And when you go on vacation, are you more of like a excursion kind of guy, or do you like to just chill out by the beach, or you like a mix of both?
I'm probably chill on the beach, eat good food,
Yeah.
like just relax and enjoy. Um, yeah, I guess I get all my exercising in when I'm at home. So, doing extensive things when I'm on vacation. We kind of use vacations as just a time to re-energize,
Yeah.
relax.
Well, that's great. Hope y'all have a
Yeah,
great time. A nice little spring break for you guys.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Adult spring break.
And my last question for you is more personal. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
That's a good one. And I think I've actually just figured that out for myself like a year or two ago. And it would be just ask. Just ask. I've learned as I get older, like opportunities come by just asking, you know? I felt like when I was younger, I was always afraid to put myself out there or, ask certain things of people or for opportunities, things like that. And as I get older, I'm like, man, so many things have opened up for me just from asking, you know, hey, mind if I have a 30-minute conversation with you on whatever you're doing over there? Hey, mind if I join your group this week? Things like that is like put yourself out there as much as possible and then be genuine when you do it. Be yourself. People can sense that. They know if you're acting like your true self or putting this facade on. We all have a good radar, I feel like, a detector for that. So, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to ask and be genuine, be yourself.
I think that's great advice. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And Tyler, again, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Really, really enjoyed speaking with you and getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah, I had a blast, Drew. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
And lastly, is there anything that you would want to like plug? I mean, where can people find you? Social medias, website, anything like that?
Yeah, I do a lot on LinkedIn. I post most of my stuff on LinkedIn, social media wise. Shoot me a connection, a message on there, um, and then Twitter. I use Twitter a little bit, not a ton, but yeah. If you have any questions or if you want to chat, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Uh, I'm a very friendly guy. Don't be nervous. Um, just reach out. Like I said, just ask. Just ask. Yeah, man, I was happy to be on here and share a little bit about my journey and things I enjoy and passionate about.
Thank you so much, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks, Drew.
Yeah.